Welcome in to another edition of the Better Baseball Podcast. No, we will not be cheating on today's show. No, we will not try and lean into a win here. We're just going to win straight up instead of getting completely shut down by a AAA pitcher, Nick Nider, and trying to win a game by getting hit. I want to start there because it's one thing that the Mets lost me a bet. And so I will get into that. But the way they won that game, unbelievable. Like that is one thing that just makes baseball. Like, I think, people that look at baseball and just go, oh, baseball. Like, that's the one they look at that and go, really? That's how people are winning games now? It was brutal. It was terrible for the sport. Absolutely awful.
I mean, that was so bad. It was as bad as leaning into a pitch to win a game. That's how bad it was. It's its own comparison. Like, the SNY broadcast wasn't even celebrating the win. They were like, no, this isn't how hit by pitches work. This is against every rule written
all of it
in the hit by pitch section of the rule book. You had to avoid contact. He leaned into it, so he purposely.
Like, clearly, there's not anything that goes against that. He clearly leaned into it, put his elbow out, and they gave him the face.
And second of all, the umpires have the discretion to rule that a strike as opposed to a hit by pitch. So there's two things in the rule right there that would mean it's a strikeout, and two, you didn't try to avoid getting hit by that pitch, so you should be out or not, at least not hit by the pitch.
Yeah.
And since it was a strike in the strike zone, that should have been a strike. He should have struck out. And the game should have continued as they were tied.
I mean, it would have been bad if we had a money line bet on the Marlins or something, but I don't think many did. I will just say right now, I will make a declaration here on the Better Baseball Podcast. I'm not betting the Mets for the next week, for the next 2 weeks. They are on the exempt list. I'm not betting them. I'm not even thinking about it. Anytime, you know what, Brian? Anytime I think, you know what, I might bet the Mets, especially to score some runs. You just jump through that computer screen and you punch me in the face because that is a dumb bet. It's literally just wasting money at this point.
Right. I mean, they can't hit a AAA pitcher. So. And don't take anything away. I'm not taking anything away from Nick Nider. He pitched.
I'm going to take everything away. No, I'm taking everything away. They could have hit that guy. They could have.
He had hittable stuff, and they didn't do it. But this isn't about Nick Nider. This is about the Mets. Is my point.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Right. I'm not trash talking Nick Nider stuff. I'm trash talking the Mets' ability to hit a baseball. That's my point here. So, yeah. I mean, the only thing I would bet on the Mets would be like today or maybe the rest of this Marlins series for the rest of the season is that how many hit by pitches do they actually get now? If I was a
Marlins special pitcher, promotion now, that'd be great.
If I was a Marlins pitcher, I might just drill a Met just for the hell of it. I mean,
they're going to drill. Is Conforto getting a ball thrown at him? Has to, right?
I mean, I'm sure they would have warnings, and I'm sure they'll be saying, "Hey, don't do this or get ejected." Whatever the situation might be in the warning process, but I'd still throw at them. Sure, yeah.
It's just unbelievable. And
I would
look if you had a Marlins bet. I'm first of all, why? Second of all, I feel sorry for you. In the first place, you should never bet on the Marlins.
I don't care if you live in Miami and you have season tickets and you go to every single game. You should never place money on that team.
No, please don't. And I think there are circumstances, by the way, you can bet on the Marlins, but never full game, as you can see. Full game. Don't do it. I mean, if they have Pablo Lopez on the mound, maybe you take a strikeout prop or two, or maybe you take the under or whatever it is for the first five. But you are not betting full game Marlins, and you saw why against the Mets. And you also saw why the Mets are just unbettable at this point. So that was yesterday, and it's not really a long, big slate today, but we have a couple of interesting things now. Let's start with Toronto and Los Angeles, because that game was phenomenal yesterday, but we don't have a pitching matchup here on DraftKings yet. They don't have anything for us. Oh, there we go. Now it shows up. Andrew Heaney and Zoich. So you're getting Zoich plus money home for the Jays. Look, Heaney got hit around last game. He got hit around hard by the White Sox. So is this a time where we take a team like the Blue Jays, who it's almost like the same thing? They're a young team that just has a ton of hard contact rate bats. Is that where, we look at the White Sox and apply it to the Blue Jays here? They're the same type of hitting team and use that against Andrew Heaney.
That is my angle on this game. Now, unfortunately, the Blue Jays haven't shown it yet this season to the extent that the White Sox have. So, when that White Sox Angels game was going on, you were pretty confident. I was pretty confident that the White Sox would hit up Heaney, and they did. Yeah. On paper, I'm that confident with the Blue Jays, but in actuality, I haven't seen the Blue Jays do it yet. So I do think they'll get their hits in on Heaney. I'm unsure of how well that'll translate to runs across home plate. Can they get those hits and make them count? Are they just going to make insignificant contact and have base hits here and there and strand runners on base?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they've done so far. So can they get that? Can they get the gears going and get the mashing going and put runs up on the board? I mean, this was a series, and yesterday was a game that I had circled on my calendar. I'm like, I just want to watch this. I don't want to bet on it. I don't want to do anything. I think the Angels are great. I think the Blue Jays are great. I just want to watch this game be a good baseball game as a fan of the sport. And it gave me everything I was looking for.
Yeah, it did yesterday, yeah.
Now, I mean, this matchup isn't as good. And when I was doing my research prior to the game, I did notice on CBSSports.com they had Zoich listed as the starter before most other sources had Zoich listed as the starter. I mean, he was next in the rotation, so it made sense that he would be the guy. But yeah, I looked up on CBSSports.com and they had their preview for the game written with Zoich in as the starter.
It seems like Zoich is going to be the starter, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I would expect him to be on the mound if it's not official elsewhere. But since we're looking at betting lines that have Zoich as part of it,
yeah,
I would assume he's going to be the guy.
Assume. Yeah.
Right.
So the Angels ended up getting the win in extras yesterday. Maybe bounce back spot for the Blue Jays plus 102. I will admit I was going to look for the Toronto Blue Jays to just absolutely hit Heaney. But as you just said, it's really tough here because I expect, and I love the talent, and I expect the Blue Jays, and they're at 4.5. The Angels are at plus 104, and that makes sense. The Angels lineup's been hitting well, but that's one I also just don't trust too much yet. I would want to stay away from just because I don't know too much about Zoich, but I do know about Heaney that he gets hit really hard.
Yes, he does.
And the Blue Jays are the type of lineup that should hit him hard. And so this 4.5 should be easy. This 4.5 should be an easy bet. I should just place it, no problem. But with past performance, I get a little worried about it.
Yeah, and not only past performance on the Blue Jays offense, not really providing the runs that you would expect. Zoich in his first start against the Yankees this year, for this season, his first start against the Yankees, he only had, 3 hits in 4 innings? He held the Yankees lineup in, control for his outing. Now, he left after 4 innings, but while he was in, he shut them down. So, the Yankees lineup is as dangerous as anybody's. So if you're holding the Yankees down for 4 innings, an underperforming Blue Jays offense, that doesn't really, a decently performing Angels offense compared to a Yankees offense. That's, it's 6-1 here. Does Trout, Rendon? I saw Ohtani was maybe out with a finger. I don't know if that's. He was the DH yesterday, so I don't know if he'll be officially in the lineup or if he'll pinch hit or what the status is for Ohtani. But Trout, Rendon, Max Stassi. Stassi's played well. I think.
Yeah.
Who was it yesterday? Walsh or whoever? They're getting runs from everybody in the lineup. So you're not just focusing on Mike Trout. You're not just focusing on Anthony Rendon or whoever. You got a whole lineup of people that contribute, that drive in the runs, that can do some damage against Zoich. But, we we've seen him in his first outing against the Yankees lineup that didn't do much against him either. So it just depends on who shows up today.
Yeah, I wanted to have a play on this game, and I wanted to go after Heaney, and maybe I still do. So I'm going to leave it up there, either of those two bets, and when we go back to it, we'll figure it out. Yeah. But man, it's almost like with the Mets. Like the Mets should have hit Nick Neidert yesterday. They should have killed him. But they didn't because the lineup's struggling. Now, I've seen more out of the Blue Jays lineup than the Mets so far this season. Don't get me wrong. Like they put up 5 runs yesterday, and they were hitting with power. And of course, Andrew Heaney is one who against right-handed bats gives up a lot of power. And guess what the Blue Jays have? A lot of power hitting right-handed bats. Everything makes sense except for the fact that the Blue Jays haven't been hitting well this season so far.
They just haven't done it. The potential to blow up Heaney is great.
Yes,
will they take advantage? Will they take advantage and convert that potential into actuality? That's
maybe that's one where I'm maybe because I got burned by the Mets, and I got burned a couple times already by a team that should end up hitting a pitcher but doesn't. And I almost was about to head to Houston and slap every single Astros hitter for maybe not giving me the over against Cole Irvin. Luckily, they finally did it. But even in that circumstance, the Astros didn't hit Irvin nearly as hard as I thought.
Right.
And they should have. Look at this. Jason Mizrahi betting the Mets. We're not betting any. Get out of here. No, we're not betting the Mets. The Mets stink. The Mets flat out stink. I mean, eventually I will, but just not right now. But yeah, but the Blue Jays are kind of under the same umbrella as the Mets, where I need to start see it happening first before I keep making those bets. Look at him making fun of me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We're trying to give up bets, and Jason Mizrahi's making fun of me because the Mets stink. And look at this matchup. Johnny Cueto, by the way, against the Colorado Rockies. I know we're gonna get to some other games, but I will admit that intrigues me a little bit. Now, Austin Gomer, that doesn't let's scratch that out. But the thing is, it's also in San Francisco, so who knows? But let's go to Houston and Oakland because the Astros seem to be doing pretty well against Oakland. Is that where we're going? Are we going back to this? Sean Manaea, I can't recall too much his last start, but if I remember correctly, it wasn't that great.
His last start against the Astros
wasn't that great.
Was very, very poor. He pitched 4.2 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, 2 home runs, 3 walks. He had 4 strikeouts, 6 hits. I mean, the Astros beat him up for 4 2/3 innings. So
but
I don't expect too much to be different, considering now they're actually in Houston with their own fans. I don't expect. Now,
So I think now the question is, and I think I'm going to be okay with him. But Lance McCullers Jr. I know there's a little bit of hesitancy sometimes with him, but I think he actually looked again really well in his first start. But it's just
also against the A's.
Also against the A's, but the A's lineup is so bad. It's almost it's almost to the point where in DFS, and I think today our guy Brian in his MLB DFS picks and pivots, we can check out windailysports.com. Even he's saying like McCullers is a really good, you can combo him with somebody, and it's a really good option for today because it's almost like if it's an average pitcher, just put him in against the Oakland Athletics, and you're going to get some type of whether it's strikeouts, going deep into a game, 5-6 innings maybe. But it's to the point where, I think you kind of be okay with McCullers just because of the lineup he's facing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, now granted, this is his first home start with fans since Tommy John surgery in 2018, missed 2019 season. But, I mean, he pitched well last year. He pitched great in great, quote unquote, against the A's in the first meeting. I mean, he gave up 2 hits and 7 strikeouts in the 5 innings he pitched against the A's in the first meeting. I mean, he held them down, and the Astros provide the offense, so that that's not going to be an issue. Like, have McCullers on the mound, he's not going to get blown up. He's not going to lose the game for you. So
well, that's what we can at least expect is that no matter what, nobody's going to get blown up by the A's.
Right.
So the Astros are always. I mean, the thing is, you're not going to bet minus 180 on it. Just not going to do it.
No,
but you don't expect ever the Athletics to be completely blowing away any team in any game.
Yes.
So Astros are going to be in it, but I think at this point it's almost like with the Mets and Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are a little bit different. I don't want to keep being too hard on them, but it's like with the Mets. They're not hitting well, so just wait until they do to start betting them. Yeah. Like at this point, the Astros are hitting well. Why would you not be betting them to hit well? I think only one game. So their team total is only 4.5. It's only 4.5. And they've hit that number all but once, I think, so far this season. So here are their run totals against the Athletics so far this season. 8, 9, 9, 9, 6. So they have gone well over that number in every game. And the only game that they didn't reach that number was against the Angels in a win, 4-2. But even in their one loss this season against the Angels, they had 6 runs in it. I mean, this team scoring runs. Keep betting it. This is what we talked about earlier in the season. I hate to say earlier in the season, like we're halfway through. But when we first started doing the podcast, I told you I was last season taking the White Sox a lot team totals because they were just mashing the ball. And even if it was 5.5, it was like, why not? They're going over this number regularly. Keep doing it until they don't keep making me money. At this point, the Astros are making me money all the time. Why not? Like, why not keep riding that bet until it stops?
I mean, until they either fall off or they face a really strong opponent, I don't see a reason why you would not bet the Astros. Like, if the Astros are playing the A's, at least in the current condition that the A's are in, I'm taking the Astros every game. Like, I mean, some bets might not be the best, but like, there's definitely going to be stuff in that game that I can bet on that are definitely like almost 100% going to hit. Like, this is almost a guaranteed win right here. Of course, today they'll probably get shut down and it'll blow up in my face. But
that's the thing. Nothing's too much of a guaranteed win.
Right.
It's not like
but
it
if
is.
You look at the matchups, this is about as close as you're going to get.
Right. Well, I don't like to call things guaranteed wins, but it's a guaranteed. No. It's a guaranteed bet I'm going to make. Like if I lose it, so be it. Like if I lose it, I'm fine with it. But everything is telling me this is the bet that's going to hit, or at least you have to keep trying it until something tells me otherwise. The Astros are.
This is the good idea that 9 out of 10 times will be a good idea.
And they've been hitting left-handed pitching well, and they're facing Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea looked horrible in his last start against the Astros. The Astros, again, have totals of 8, 9, 9, 9, 6 against the Athletics. There's no reason, I think, not to bet that total. And I'm surprised it's not 5.5. I honestly would bet it now. If those are listening, I would bet it now before maybe it does go away. Before it does maybe jump up to 5.5 if somebody keeps betting it. But that's where I would go. This other one, now we see Jason Mizrahi, he bet the Yankees today, and I'm not going to lie, minus 137 in the money line's not too bad. We could probably get a first 5 out of them as well. I don't know if we're betting too much on Corey Kluber, which he looked good in his first start. And, he's been out for a while, looked pretty good. But I think what we're really betting on is that guy, Rich Hill. I think we're betting on him to get absolutely destroyed today.
Yeah. I mean, he got destroyed against the Marlins. So, if you're having a bad
outing against that lineup is great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like usually if you go into a matchup with Miami, at least in the first week of the season, current condition, the Miami's offense is in, that's like a recovery start. Like, okay, I might not be the best pitcher on the team and I had a rough outing or so, but at least I have Miami. I could settle in, have a solid day and, get my work in and hopefully not get beat up too much. But Rich Hill is like wandered into a beating. Like it shouldn't have happened, and it did. And it's
But he doesn't have the stuff where it's entirely possible that any lineup at some point is going to get him. I mean, he's a nice veteran savvy pitcher, but that doesn't necessarily mean, every single game he's going to be that way.
Right.
His stuff is ripe enough to hit that, if a team's feeling it that day, they're likely going to get him.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, you're going to have a Yankees lineup with maybe no Judge, but I mean, you're going to have a Yankees lineup that should be able to crush him.
Yeah,
Like
I do. I think so.
Giancarlo and Gary and them should be able to line up his stuff and smash it out of the park, and LeMahieu and all those guys should have really good swings against the stuff that Rich Hill is going to be throwing you. If you have a 9 ERA leaving a game where you face the Marlins, that's not
now,
great.
Is there any worry? Should we be worrying at all about Corey Kluber? Like, is there any worry there?
Not.
I guess the thing is, we're not worried about the Rays lineup, right? Like,
I'm definitely not worried about the Rays lineup in their current state. I mean, they don't have Kiermaier. They're not really hitting that well. You only got like 2 or 3 guys that are really putting bat on ball. So, like, if he can get around a Rosarena and he can get around Margot and Mejia, I mean, he should be fine. There was a few spots in his first start where his control was a little questionable, and he kind of, got his pitch count up slightly higher than it should have been. But overall, I don't think the Rays are going to really capitalize on those opportunities. Although it's their home opener, or they're playing in front of their home fans for the first time this season, so maybe they can get some emotion going and put some wins together. But I mean, Kluber should be fine. I'm not worried so much about Kluber's stuff as I am the Rays lineup not being able to hit it on a consistent basis. That's going to put you into worry, especially against the Yankees lineup that should be able to capitalize on whatever Rich Hill's going to throw at you. So, I
completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, Kluber should be fine.
So a couple more games that we're going to go over here on the Better Baseball Podcast, WinDailySports.com. Sign up, WinDailySports.com. Use the code GOT5. You can get the first week $5 to check out all the Win Daily Sports content. So do that over WinDailySports.com. Check out the gold membership. So one game you wanted to look at as well is the Reds and Diamondbacks.
Yes.
Reds lineup here. You know what? Actually, the pitcher, Tyler Mahle, are we looking at him today? Maybe to have a good performance? And, I'm saying that as the Diamondbacks, I think Ketel Marte is still out, right? I
believe so. I can double check, but I believe he is still out.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure about that. And he should
be out for a little while.
Yeah,
it's not. Okay. It shouldn't be a.
But as we've kind of seen, with him out, like the Diamondbacks don't really have, they haven't been really great since he was out. So, do we keep betting against that? And, obviously the money line's up there, -150, and especially on the road in Arizona, it's tough to bet that kind of price. But what I do like is the fact that the Diamondbacks have not been good. And I do like the fact that the Reds are 5-1 and absolutely just murdering baseballs left and right.
Yeah.
So, this is one where I do almost a little bit of a heat check, and I'm not worried about Widener, like his start against San Diego. San Diego just wasn't hitting well that series at all, but Cincinnati is.
Yeah.
So Cincinnati's hitting well. I expect them to maybe hit Widener a little bit harder than the Padres did. Is this basically, heat check type thing for the Reds?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look, are they going to beat up the D-backs like they did the Pirates? I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen. I don't think Widener is as bad as what Pittsburgh threw at Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's hot. Now, they're not playing in Cincinnati where the balls fly over the fence on a bunt, but, you can get solid contact in Arizona. And I expect with the lineup with Moustakas and Castellanos and Naquin and Barnhart and those guys clicking, I expect them to get a lot of hits and score pretty easily against Widener. I mean, he would have to be really shut down to keep that Reds offense off the board or in check. I mean, because even if the 4 or 5 main guys aren't hitting that well, I mean, rookie Jonathan India's hitting okay enough to, get some base runners around the base path. Votto's always there. You got, Eugenio Suarez is there. There's not a name on this Reds lineup currently that I'm looking at and saying, oh yeah, that's an obvious out. Maybe the pitcher would be like the only person I'd be like, okay, we can sacrifice this batter. But the other 8 hitters in the Reds lineup, it's not an easy out anywhere in that lineup.
No,
you're going to have to pitch. And if you can pitch, maybe you can keep the Reds in their current state in check. But you have to pitch. And is Widener the type of pitcher that can pitch the way that's needed to keep the current Reds offense in check? I don't think so. Yes, he pitched really well against a so-so Padres hitting lineup. But,
that was just struggling all series pretty much. The
Padres haven't gotten anything going yet this season, even if they were fully healthy.
Yeah.
So without Tatis, they struggle offensively across the lineup. Nobody is really making the contact that they should be making based on what we've seen last year. So, yeah, he had a good game against the Padres. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 5 Ks. So he did fine against a struggling lineup, but the Reds aren't struggling. So the Reds should be able to go out there. They're in the top 1 or 2 of almost every offensive, stat that you could throw out there to say the Reds can hit. And, Widener's not in a top tier pitching category that suggests that he can shut them down.
Yeah. And I think Tyler Mahle, it's, he doesn't do well against lefties. As again, you can go MLB DFS picks and pivots. Starting rotation is where I'm getting this information from Adam. Very well done. That's where I do get a lot of my information on windailysports.com. That's where you should be going as well. But doesn't do well against lefties. However, though, the best lefty in the lineup is not in. He's on the IL. So, it's just I'm betting here on a couple things. It's a little bit of a heat check for the Reds, but it's also for the Diamondbacks. I haven't seen them hit without Ketel Marte, and I'm going to bet on that. I don't think they can. Now, I'm going to stick with the first 5 just because I think that's when they win it, and I just want to be sure. So I'll stick with the first 5 there. But I think this is a good one. Now, last bet that I want to go to. I looked at this and saw it yesterday, and you know what? There could be potential, I guess, for this Cleveland lineup to get after Julio Teheran. But guess what? I'm not betting on that. I'm going to go with a little first 5 under. These teams in their series, in the first series they had this season, they all went under the 4.5 for the first 5 runs.
These are 2 pretty bad lineups.
Exactly. And look, it's now first 5. It's 5.5 now. This is where, I think the pitcher people get afraid of, like Julio Teheran, doesn't have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and a nice bending hook. Nah, it's more 89, 88, and it's really not anything overpowering. But I've also watched him for years kill the Phillies, and I don't know how he ever did it. But this guy has been dealing with that type of stuff, and he's been making it work for a while now. Yeah. Obviously, he's not the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, but he can work. No. He works very well with the stuff he has.
He does, and this isn't a lineup that's going to hit him. As hard as he potentially should be hit. So he's got a good matchup. He has decent enough stuff to keep. The lineup isn't going to take advantage of the mistakes or take advantage of the pitch he hangs in the zone or the pitch that should be faster or harder or better placed. That neither of these lineups have really taken advantage of anything that's been given to them. So the pitchers don't need to be great, and the lineups haven't proven that they can succeed in any situation.
I don't think we're worried about Zach Plesac too much in this, right? Against Detroit?
Yeah. No. This should be a game of low runs, but not because the pitching is fantastic. It's just bad
these
baseball.
lineups stink. Yeah, these lineups stink.
Bad baseball.
No, flat out. No, you're 100% right. These lineups stink. So I think that's what I'm going to bet on is, and especially the first 5 innings. Like if things get going in the 6th, 7th innings late in the game, of course it happens. But early on, I just expect this. I hate to say cruise control because that's not the right way to put it, but it's just a very slow start that these.
This is going to be that war of attrition between two bad teams, and which one can screw up worse to give the advantage to the other team. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And again, the first 5 under has hit at 4.5, it's hit under, and it's really not gotten close to it. All 3 games that these teams played in their first series in the opening day to start the season. Now it's at 5.5. I don't care that it's Julio Teheran. I really don't. That's the only reason why that's number at 5.5, by the way. It's not because of Zach Plesac. It's because Teheran's going up against Cleveland, and he's considered a bad pitcher or a not so good one.
Right.
It doesn't matter against Cleveland.
No, I mean, you could look at their lineup and you could say, oh yeah, he could run into problems, Ramirez
with a couple of hitters. If they do get on the board, it's because Ramirez maybe gets a solo shot. I expect a couple of home runs, but that doesn't mean they're going to blow this game wide open, especially early on.
That's exactly what's going to happen. You're probably going to get a stray solo home run here or there, or even if he runs into problems and he has base runners on the base path, you're not going to convert those runners into the max potential runs. You might get a run squeaked out here or there, but it's they're going to swing at bad pitches. They're going to hit into double plays. They're going to hit into easy situations for the defense to convert. So yeah, I'm not looking at a high run total. They don't hit the ball. They don't work the count the way they should.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my things with bad teams. I watch the Pirates. Hate watch the Pirates. But every time I watch them, I'm like, why aren't you guys working the count, taking a pitch, doing the basic things that you can do to have a better chance of success? You're going up there swinging at a first pitch. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can watch a pitch, gauge what the pitcher's doing. The best teams in baseball traditionally, statistically, work the counts. Yeah. Their primary goal is to get the pitcher's count up so that they can get the starting pitcher out. So they work the counts. They foul off pitches. They take pitches and they get that count up so that a pitcher's throwing 6+ pitches to a batter. That he's not getting the one pitch swing and out and getting out of the inning in 10 pitches or 9 pitches or whatever. They're working that count. They're stretching the game out. They're making the starter throw more pitches than needed. And these lineups don't do that.
No. We expect these lineups. Yeah, we expect these lineups to be bad. They're ranked in terms of WOBA. There's the 16th and 17th teams. So it's not like they're the worst in the league, but they're not good. And I expect them to actually go down a lot more than that. Here are our plays for today. So let's are we going to do the Blue Jays one? That's the only one when you have plus money. So I might want to keep it there just to take a shot on it. We've been doing well. Why not?
It is Heaney. There's always that chance.
You know what? There is always that chance. So we're taking the Blue Jays on the money line plus 102 against the Angels today. A little bit of a bounce back win for the Blue Jays. Over 4.5. Astros against the Athletics. Look, keep riding the hot hand until it tells you otherwise. They've hit the number, especially the 4.5 over in all their games except one. The Yankees were taking on the money line against the Rays. The Reds, we like first 5 money line against the Diamondbacks and a little bit of first 5 under 5.5 for the Detroit Tigers and Cleveland Indians. That's it for the Better Baseball podcast today. Very, very good week for us. That's the week. It's Friday. It's WrestleMania. By the way, happy WrestleMania weekend. I need to my fellow wrestling, my fellow wrestling fan Brian at One Fan Power Trip. happy WrestleMania weekend.
Happy WrestleMania weekend. Oh, I'm excited.
That's it for the Better Baseball Podcast. We will be back on Monday for some more plays, but it was a great week. Another week in the books, first full week for us, and it went really well. And you know what? I think we got a winning board here for today. Let's try and see if we did. I like it. That's it. Better Baseball Podcast, WinDailySports.com.